Las Vegas is one of America's iconic cities. Known for its gambling, entertainment, and other promiscuous activities, Las Vegas has drawn in tourists for years. But have you ever wondered why the city is in the middle of the desert? Summer days regularly reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but with modern air conditioning, Sin City still managed to pack in 38.8 million people last year, even though the electricity bills cost almost millions of dollars a year. Las Vegas is one of the most well-known cities in America, but people lived in and around Las Vegas for hundreds of years before the first casino was established. Despite its desert location, Las Vegas sits on naturally marshy land. There are still natural springs today. The city has a long history connected to the railroad and gangsters, each leaving their mark on the growing city. It didn't start as a gambling metropolis, but its desert location was essential to the railroad. Only later, as Nevada enacted laws about gambling and alcohol, did the city drift away from the railroad and eventually bring in the gangsters and entrepreneurs and start Las Vegas on a path toward the modern, indulgent vacation destination it is today. Looking back at its history, we can understand why Las Vegas began in a desert and see how its location helped shape it into the city it is today. What was the land around Las Vegas like before the city began? The first people wandered through the Las Vegas Valley about 11,000 years ago, following herds of animals and discovering a lush landscape with lakes and rivers. These people were part of the groups who migrated to the Americas during the last ice age. Archaeologists believe people lived in the Las Vegas Valley until the water disappeared. By 300 BCE, the valley had been reduced to desert and a few springs and oases. The people still in the area hunted bighorn sheep and gathered edible plants as they could find them. Archaeologists call these people the basket makers. The only artifacts they left behind were tightly woven baskets, but historians believe the basket makers were the cultural ancestors of the Paiute people, also called the Anasazi people. This tribe still lives in southern Nevada today and is famous for its pueblos. These houses continue to intrigue people. The most well-known is the Pueblo Grande de Nevada, only 60 miles outside Las Vegas. The basket makers and Anasazi people used the site, but it was abandoned around 1150 CE for unknown reasons. Even though Native Americans had lived in the American Southwest for hundreds of years, Americans and Europeans had not explored it. Mexican explorers found the oasis in 1829 and named it Las Vegas, meaning the meadows. Once it began appearing on maps, American explorers scouted the area, but there was no attempt to settle it until 1852 when the Mormons stumbled across the oasis. Las Vegas was already a resting spot for people traveling west and was even a mail route stop, offering a safer way to cross the desert. When Mormon missionary Hosea Stout arrived in 1852, he thought the area would help support the Mormon people, who had been driven west under religious pressures. Mormonism was founded by Joseph Smith, who distributed the Book of Mormon, which he claimed was written by the angel Moroni. While they believed in some Christian tenets, they had others directly in conflict with mainstream Christianity, such as polygamy. This new religion was met harshly, so the surviving Mormons moved to Salt Lake Valley in 1847. About 30 men set out for Las Vegas and arrived in 1855, intent on building a fort and planting crops. At first, it seemed a successful venture. They spent their first summer making adobe bricks and clearing wagon roads. They even befriended the local Native Americans, and William Bringhurst was a strong leader religiously and organizationally. The Mormons found lead deposits nearby and immediately began mining. However, the lead was mixed with silver, so they could not turn it into tools. Eventually, the Mormons abandoned the mine, and as tension built under Bringhurst's leadership, they ultimately abandoned the entire settlement in Las Vegas. However, the Mormons' failure did not stop other people from attempting to settle in the area. A former prospector named Octavius Decatur Gass took over the abandoned Mormon fort and turned the land into Los Vegas Rancho. He started with 400 acres, but as his farm became profitable, he bought his neighbor's land and expanded. He even served as an Arizona Territory legislator 4 times. That may seem strange to us because Las Vegas is in Nevada today, but when the Mormons first built their fort, the area was part of New Mexico. It transferred to Arizona in 1863, and the tension between the two territories caused legislative issues. Gas solved this problem by moving the area into Nevada, joining the territory in 1872. Sadly, gas suffered from this decision in the long run. Nevada decided all former Arizona citizens must pay back taxes, which cost gas his ranch. The Las Vegas Rancho passed to Archibald Stewart on May 2, 1881, inadvertently starting the process of building Las Vegas when his wife began selling land after his death. Why was Las Vegas built in a desert? The Las Vegas Valley has been attracting people for centuries, but modern Las Vegas has different focus than the first city did. Rather than relying upon tourism, the first Las Vegas was built on the Transcontinental Railroad and the Boulder Dam. In 1900, the population of Las Vegas was 30 people. Helen Stewart, the wife of the late Archibald Stewart, hired James T. McWilliams to survey her land. McWilliams saw a business opportunity next to the rail line and claimed 80 acres to start a town. Within a few weeks, his village had a store, a hotel, gambling halls, and around a dozen bars. But all the buildings were tents. Of course, McWilliams wasn't the only person to see capitalist potential in Las Vegas, and a fire of suspicious origin destroyed McWilliams' town. William A. Clark took the lead in building a lasting city in the valley. William A. Clark was a businessman and politician that made his wealth in banking, mining, and railroads. Clark helped found the San Pedro, Los Angeles, and Salt Lake Railroad, which moved goods between the three cities as a spur on the Transcontinental Railroad. The Las Vegas Valley quickly became an essential watering and repair station in the long trek between Utah and California. The railroad arrived in January 1905, and the Las Vegas Land and Water Company quickly followed in May, along with a land auction. Those 110 acres became the basis for modern downtown Las Vegas today. By March 1911, Las Vegas was large enough to be incorporated, quickly taking on characteristics still seen in contemporary Las Vegas. Alcohol was mostly unprohibited, even during Prohibition. Divorce was more easily obtainable, and gambling picked up once Nevada legalized gambling. However, even in the 1920s, Las Vegas still depended on the railroad to fuel its economy, and the railroad had become more challenging to manage in recent years. In 1922, around 400,000 rail workers across the country went on strike. In Las Vegas, they had public backing because the city favored unions. Nationwide, workers complained of low wages, which had been reduced after the government stopped controlling the railroad after World War I. The rail owners used strikebreakers, and the strike ended 5 months later. They moved hundreds of jobs out of the city to punish Las Vegas for supporting the workers. It was a wake-up call. If the city wanted to survive, it could not only be a railroad town anymore. Local leaders began looking for other technology to enhance the city's economy. They opened their first airport in November 1920, and other modernizations quickly took hold of the town, bringing in neon signs and pavement. Prohibition continued to be ignored by the city as a whole, especially after Nevada legalized alcohol in 1923. Bootleg booze helped Las Vegas's first professional crime boss settle in, Big Jim Ferguson. He used intimidation tactics to convince the local police to protect his bootleg business for a few years. Still, his luck ran out in 1928 as Las Vegas realized the Boulder Canyon Project Act would provide the boost their economy needed in the middle of the desert. The idea of building a dam across the Colorado River wasn't new. Locals had been thinking about it since the early 1800s. The river was powerful and well known for disastrous seasonal flooding. Previous attempts to control the river had only been partially successful. The Southern Pacific Railroad invested $3 million in flood control, but the Edison Electric Company's idea for a hydroelectric dam was never built. However, it did catch the government's interest. In 1920, they began looking into constructing a dam at Boulder Canyon, about 30 miles southeast of Las Vegas. Private electric companies strongly opposed the government's efforts because they didn't want the government to generate electricity. So 7 states decided to band together as the League of the Southwest to address concerns and promote the dam. Several influential people in Las Vegas supported the dam, but even with their support, the dam's construction was still up for debate for several years. During those years, the locals began calling the project the Boulder Dam. When the national government named it the Hoover Dam in 1931, many people refused to accept the name change. Although that is how the structure is known today, It didn't become its official name until 1947, even though President Hoover strongly supported the project and helped the League of the Southwest come to an agreement. When the government officially approved the Boulder Dam project in 1928, Las Vegas celebrated, hoping the construction workers would live in the city while working on the dam. The town quickly blossomed, building itself up in preparation to house the workers in the middle of the desert. Secretary of the Interior Ray Lyman Wilbur was at first impressed with the town. They closed the bars, saloons, and brothels for his arrival. Sadly, one of the secretary's men went to the Arizona Club with a local reporter and came back reeking of alcohol and discussing his warm welcome. Officially, Wilbur decided Las Vegas was too far from the construction site. In reality, the government wanted the workers to be free from temptation while working, so they built Boulder City. The attempts to enforce morality made Las Vegas more alluring to the workers and helped the city through the Great Depression. Every payday, the single male laborers traveled to Las Vegas to enjoy themselves, throwing out their alcohol bottles before arriving back in Boulder City. Las Vegas managed itself as a small railroad town without significant outside interference. Still, as the city expanded, they realized they needed to develop more political and communal infrastructure, especially as entrepreneurs realized Highway 91 had more money to offer. Supposedly, the first person to call this part of Highway 91 the Strip was Guy McAfee, who bought the Paradise Club in 1939. Taking his ideas from Los Angeles' Sunset Strip, he set about renaming his business the 91 Club and crafting a higher-end feel intended to attract the celebrities coming into town to finalize their divorces. Establishments like the 91 Club and the Red Rooster demonstrated Las Vegas had a future as a tourist destination. Other entrepreneurs quickly seized the idea and built full resorts. These resorts offered excellent hotels and entertainment worth stopping for. Some of them, like the Last Frontier, even had early central air, quickly proving indoor cooling was necessary for the Las Vegas tourist scene. For a town that started in the middle of the desert, Las Vegas had a dynamic development. It began in the desert as a needed stop on the railroad as the country pushed westward. But Las Vegas would have faded if it had stayed a railroad town. Instead, the people determined they would not give in to political pressures, economic issues, or even the climate. They used the location to improve their economy and the popular tourist destination Las Vegas is known for today, building themselves from the desert floor up. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Las Vegas, check out our book, History of Las Vegas, a captivating guide to historical events and facts you should know about the entertainment capital of the world. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.